this video, I'm going to show you the procedure of select by attributes. In order to show you this, I need a couple of things. One is a data set, and what this data set is a map of the roads of Hamilton County, New York, which is a very sparsely populated county in the central Adirondacks, a large land area with only 4,400 people approximately. One can see that in Hamilton County there are large gaps, very large spaces that are completely roadless. In fact, don't even have anything like a Jeep trail that could even be the vaguest facsimile of a road. We can check that out more readily by looking at the base map, and in order to view this better, we'll make the roads red to provide a good contrast, and zooming in we can see that here's a large land area of several miles across with nothing that could be traversed as a road of any sort whatsoever. So it's a very interesting data set to use. I will zoom back to the layer. The second thing that I need to show you with regards to doing select by attributes is to introduce the idea of what an attribute table is. An attribute table is information that's attached to these geographic entities here. So these are each one of these road segments, and there's several thousand, I believe, all total, counting every little piece. Each one of them is a geographic entity. It is a line that has geographic coordinates, but it also has much more. For instance, if I zoom in on this one, I can use the Identify tool to click on a road segment, and it tells me that's State Highway 28, and it has various IDs. It's 1.58 miles long, that particular segment, etc. So that's, and perhaps this here is another segment of State Route 28. And this little thing here is a unnamed road of A51 type. And you'll be asked during this exercise to tell me what an A51 road is. So that's what attributes are. They're information attached to, and here's another one, which is an A41. That is information that's attached to the geographic entity. I can zoom back out to the entire layer, and I can right click on the name of the layer and open the entire attribute table and discover 4,488 different line segments make up the entire road network of Hamilton County, New York. And some of them have names: Hunter Road, Herb Road, French Road, etc. Some of them are state highways, and some of them are completely unnamed whatsoever. I'd also like to call your attention to a field. A column of data is called a field that is titled CFCC. And looking at my sheet, I'll remind myself that CFCC stands for Census Feature Class Code. Census Feature Class Code. So everything that has been defined geographically for purposes of the U.S. Census projects will have a code, and not just roads. In fact, the A stands for a transportation feature. The 2 stands for what type of transportation feature, and the 1, or whatever the third digit is, stands for it's a refinement of the category 2. So these codes identify what is the nature of that road. Is it a road? State highways seem to have a different code than South Shore Road, a small road, as opposed to another code which is something that's completely unnamed altogether. So how do you know what those are? Well, at the bottom of your lab exercise, I have extracted and pasted in what all the CFCC codes actually mean. So we'll be looking in this exercise at CFCC codes and seeing how the select by attribute, and we'll use this as our attribute of our target attribute for this week, how using select by attribute can be useful. So let's just close this. And so we've talked about attributes, we've talked about geographic features and how they tie together. Here's another one right there. That little line segment is Jessup River Road, and they're not all attribute data is perfect. It's actually Jessup River Road. I know that road. So this is our working place. Next, why don't we go ahead and try to do the operation of select by attributes. Let's say I'm only interested in A41s, which are, according to the table here, it's a very common road type: local, neighborhood, rural road, or city street, unseparated. Not in a tunnel, not in an underpass, not with a railway line in the center. A41 is a minor road, a local road, a neighborhood road, or a rural road. So it would be a road that's very small. It's not a divided highway, and it probably has very limited amounts of traffic. So that's a common road type. Let's see what among all of the roads of Hamilton County are in this category. I'll turn this back to just to streets. And now I can go and do the process of select by attributes. I can ask for selection, is where the tool is found by left clicking. I can ask for select by attributes, and I get a dialog box which at first seems complicated but is not really too difficult. And I can choose from the one layer I have to choose from that I'm working with. That's an alternate name for the Hamilton County roads. And what I'd like to do is make a new selection. I'm going to select a subset based on the CFCC, and I'm going to say that for CFCC's equal to, excuse me, I need to double click on CFCC, and I need to clear that. Double click on CFCC, and you'll notice that CFCC, which is one of the fields, one of the attributes, appears in this text box. Then I click on equals. I had to double click on CFCC to make it work. I'll remind you of that when I do one more example. And then finally, CFCC is equal to A41. I can save myself typing or parentheses or quotes or stuff by clicking on the Get Unique Values button. And what it'll do then is it'll tell me every possible choice I have for a CFCC. One of them is A41, and I need to double click on it. And it says CFCC equals A41. And you can see this one is in double quotes, that's in single quotes. That's why it's nice to choose from lists. It helps you to not have to worry as much about the syntax. And I can go ahead and say OK. And what has happened immediately in my workspace is that I now have a different color designation for all of the roads that are declared as CFCC 41s or local roads. And I can confirm that by clicking on one of these and seeing that, yes, that little road segment, the Cedar River Road, is an A41. So that was all fine. And I know that Cedar River Road is actually a dirt road. In the Adirondacks, things get promoted a little more than they should be, perhaps. So those are all of the A41 roads. I've identified them. They look different. And I can actually go ahead, reopen my attribute table, and do something useful. And the useful thing that I can do is I can go ahead and right-click. I think you've done a right-click on a column header before. In another context, I can right-click on the column header for length, ask for statistics, and discover that the sum of the lengths of all of the selected road segments is 503.788 miles. So one nice thing about doing the right-click statistics, if you have a subset of the entire data set selected and you ask for a operation such as statistics, the statistics reported will be for only the selected features. If I go to selection and say clear, and now there's nothing selected, I just wiped out the select by attributes I did before, and I right click, ask for statistics, I'll see that the total length of roads is 1,171 miles in Hamilton County. So that actually could allow me to calculate the percentage of roads that fall into a particular category. I also thought I'd repeat the process to show you a review. Select by attributes. I can go ahead and say I'd like a new selection. I'd like double click. This one's it's left over in my text box. I need to say clear. Double click on CFCC equals, get unique values, and let's look at all the major roads. A21. Double click on A21, say OK, and it finds out there are 692 road segments of major roads, and as expected, they all have names like State Highway 8, State Highway 28, and State Highway 8 and 30. So there's 4 different state highways, and those are the only major roads, and they're not that major. I've driven on all of them. But those are what are considered the most major roads in that area. I can right click, ask for statistics, and discover there's 155 miles of state highways, roads that you can probably do 55 on significant portions of them. So those are that's the that's the process of selection, and just for that's it. And though that ought to be enough information for you to attack the exercise for this week.